What's up, everybody? Welcome to the No Nonsense live stream. It's Yaga. Let's make sure I'm live on the screen here. There it is. All right. How's everybody doing? Getting ready for your holidays? I had a talk with some friends this morning about how, family tends to be a pain in the ass around the holidays. And we all have family. We know what the Christmas and everything is like. Everybody's got an agenda. And sometimes it's a headache, but it's also a great joy. So, there's always that. Today, the title of this is Behavior and the Road to Success. We're going to talk about patterns of behavior, uh, not just all kinds of things. Sorry. The road to success. I'm not talking about getting six figures jobs and being able to purchase Armani suits and Movado watches. If that's your idea of success, this isn't what I'm talking about. I'm going to talk about like personal successes for yourself, meaning little fears, little obstacles, things that you accomplish in your life. Those are successes. And I have found that is the actual, like a more fulfilling way to live is when you have these fears or difficulties and you plow through them. That's success to me. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. First, let's talk about patterns of behavior. I looked up, believe it or not, I looked up pattern of behavior just for a definition purpose, and there came up to be a law site, which I don't agree with this definition. It says means behavior by one party this is by the law definition. So if you're in court, means behavior by one party in an intimate relationship that is used to establish power and control over the other person in the relationship through fear and intimidation. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think when you're in any relationship, whether it be romantic, friendship, work, you kind of notice people's patterns of behavior. You watch how they do by their actions, not their words. Words are hollow unless their actions follow what they say, and in my experience, most people are very inconsistent. They say a lot of shit, but they don't back it up with any words. They don't walk the walk, right? They talk a lot though. And those are the people that, and not that they're bad or anything. Take away the labels from good, bad, right, and wrong. Just look at it. It is what it is. But that kind of person, you only have a certain level of trust. You only have a certain level of engaging in certain information, stuff like that. That's just the way it is. People who are very consistent with their actions, like everything they do is just that's who their character is. Your reputation is how people know you. Your character is who you are, and who you are is wherever you go. Some people put on the mask, right? They put on the mask like at one position, they're this completely different person. They're like happy-go-lucky, but then in another area of life, they act totally different. Now I've done this before, where like I would be almost like people pleasing in a sense. If I was around a certain group of people, but then also, act the way I wanted to act over here. Now I'm literally the same everywhere I go. I'll say what I say, do what I do, and don't care. I just, I don't go tongue lashing people for no reason. But I will give you an honest answer if you ask me a question. That's what I do. But no matter where I go, there I am, right? So my pattern is pretty consistent, and I don't have to. People who get scared, I've noticed with people who get like, what you need to do? It's not all about you. They tend to get scared because they see that and it makes them terrified of their own thing because they're not consistent with their actions, words, and behaviors. They know that. So they try to put some blame towards someone else, but you can't do that to a person who is honest. Like if you live honestly, like it's not going to do anything to those people. But people who, they're honest, but they kind of, they fuck around a little bit with truth and they'll be a little deceiving here and there. Those people will tend to, they're easy to scare because then fear creeps in, and fear is part of the reason why you're unsuccessful, which will lead me into being successful in the life. So I think it's important to, for your own sake, know thyself, meaning watch your own patterns of behavior. Like, for example, I've noticed that people, when in pain, they tend to do some impulsive, crazy shit. You know, I used to lily pad from relationships. As they broke up, immediately went to another as thinking that was going to fix me because I was in pain. My impulses are at a maximum height, right? I just got out of a relationship. So in my mind, all of a sudden I'm thinking, well, here we go. Do whatever I want now. It becomes very selfish, self-centered. Your pride gets in the way. You're hurt. You're angry because anger comes from loss. You're lost this old relationship. So now anything looks good. The moment someone says hello to you, you just latch onto that. And this is one of my patterns for a lot of years. You know, I've been in the dating circle for 20 years, long-term relationships, a lot of flings. And my whole thing was lily pad from each relationship, which isn't healthy in the long run. It's usually, and I just had this conversation with somebody. Usually that comes from a place of pain. You know, you're hurt, so you do dumb shit. You know, you do these impulsive things. All of a sudden, you booked a trip to Europe. You know, you're like, oh, after you got out of, you got divorced, right? This is very common today because a lot of people are getting divorced, unfortunately, because I think they're going about the marriage all wrong. But I don't know. I'm not in that relationship. I have no idea what goes on behind closed doors. And but a lot of people, when they get divorced, what do they immediately do? They're like dating again, like immediately. You haven't allowed yourself time to heal. You haven't allowed yourself time to process things and to make better decisions to get a better result later. Because if you just do what I did, which was like lily pad off a relationship, you're just doomed to repeat the same history because my pattern said that. Now, which means I didn't fix anything on myself, on my end. I didn't look at what I was doing. I didn't look at the behaviors that I needed to change in order to maintain a healthy relationship, whether that's romantic or with friends or relative, doesn't matter. Any relationship in general. I needed to look at what my behavior was and what I was doing, not what other people were doing. You know, we have this misconception that everybody else needs to cater to what I want so I can be happy, then everything will be okay. And that's delusional. It's not right. It's not a good way to view the world. The best way I've discovered is to go inside and out. Okay. So after lily padding from relationship to relationship for 20 years, I kind of finally started to realize like, you know, the common denominator out of all those things is myself. It's not the people I'm dating. It's not the ladies. It's me. And I've dated all calibers of women, but at the center of that was myself. What was I doing wrong? What was I not being honest with myself about? What was I lying to myself about? These are things I constantly had to discover. And finally, after, you know, fucking 20 years of doing that, I had enough pain. So I was willing to look at some of the behaviors that I'm responsible for that I can change so I don't make these mistakes again. Because one, if you keep lily padding from relationship to relationship, thinking for whatever reason that's going to fix you, you're wrong. That's just straight up wrong. It won't fix you. It might mend over the pain for a little bit, but you're really covering up your healing process. You won't be able to heal from the pain that you have endured. You know, good and bad pain. This isn't all just like it was a traumatic relationship because not all departing is traumatic, right? My last relationship, 4.5 years, we went our separate ways, what relatively respectively well. Like, you know, everybody is trained in this world because of patterns, behavior, and society that most people, when they get divorced or break up, it's supposed to be some epic fight, like the volcano erupted and everything's supposed to be fuck you, fuck you. And that's not the case. In my previous relationship, it was just a matter of just wasn't working. And we had nothing but good words to say about each other after we'd split up. Was there pain and hurt? Of course. You know, it's a long time. So there was anger, there was a little bit of sadness mixed with like impulsive choices. I booked a trip to New York. You know, that doesn't happen normally. That happens because you're in this cycle of flux and you're thinking like all of a sudden you're getting impulsive again. So part of my behavior that I needed to work on was to separate impulse and being compulsive. See, now today, I could be spontaneous, which isn't the same as being as impulsive as I am. Or do I make impulsive things and just go when I flip the switch? Absolutely. You know, a couple months ago, you know, I was refinishing furniture. I've talked about this, and I was just very into it. All of a sudden, I'm looking up freaking, you know, how to stain something, refinish wood, how to sand, what's good, what's not good. And I'm learning all this new education because, again, for me, the key to success is becoming aware of a behavior that I have that doesn't work anymore and be willing to let it go and try something new. That's what I'm talking about with success, not fucking financial success. Again, Movado watches and Armani suits. I'm talking about that's a part of success, but I'm talking about personal success for things that are hindering you in your own life. That are keeping you from growing forward, you know? And for me, lily padding relationships, right? Now I know what's to be expected on a relationship. I know the give and take, but I also know that a lot of the time I'm not gonna just give things when for no reason. If you want to be in a long-term relationship today, you have to understand um, that I believe truly that men have to lead, women will follow the men and be in their corner, and they will protect and provide, and it should be that way. This mentality that we have to give women everything they want, I think, is where part of what's fucking everything up. Because part of my experience with lily padding relationships was I would do that. I mean, oh, here, I bought you this, I gave you that, here's a ring, all this crazy material outside stuff. And then found out that that didn't carry into forever, because a lot of people think the idea is, oh, if you just do this, everything's going to be hunky dory for the next 50 years. And that's no, it's a day to day thing. That's a part of it, but not the complete um, solution, right? So my behavior I needed to work on. I needed to be honest with myself and was like, am I capable of having a relationship? I am today. I'm also capable of not having one. Either way, I prefer one though. I'm better with a grounded relationship, but I'm not caught up in today's shit. Like, just give me things. No, I'm not doing that anymore. And luckily, I have a wonderful woman who's not really that way. So as of today, everything's great, but I had to do a lot of healing on my own from past things, because my anger, it comes from being hurt, or like the ideas of the way I thought life was and the way I was raised and brought up. And then I did these things, and then I was totally didn't meet my expectations. And then I was fucking devastated every time it happened. And so I became jaded and selfish and was like, well, you know what? Fuck women. Then I'm going to go do what I want. And then I thought, being that it's mutual going back and forth, I wasn't hurting anything. And that's not true. I was toying with emotions, mine and others. I don't believe in sitting across from a man and woman can be friends without somebody being on that page. And I've talked about this before. Like, somebody wants the other person. Men always want sex from a woman if they can get it. And women will give that if they know it can get to a next level of something, typically, because they want to be taken care of and settled down, but not in the sense of material stuff like give me things, because then women don't respect the men for that, right? They don't. You just have to tell a woman no. You can go if you want. It's leadership. I see it today, pretty clear. So look for patterns of behaviors, like especially in the dating world. If you are trying to be a family person, look at somebody's patterns. Okay, they have a history. Then even if they're honest about their history, you have to go, what are you doing different today? Otherwise, they're doomed to repeat those same patterns again. I know from my own life that I just kept repeating the same shit over and over and over again until I was willing to look at myself as the problem and see what I can do to be different. It took a lot of soul searching, a lot of being honest with myself, a lot of trial and error, and just being honest. Always be honest. I don't want to do this. I don't like this. This is dumb from the gate. And then it's on the other people if they want to be with you or not, because then that's on their decision. You can't be mad at somebody down the road when they clearly told you how they think about the world, and then later on we're like surprised. But that happens. A lot of people are very fearful of disclosing information in the beginning, because for a bunch of reasons. One, you're trying to build trust with somebody, so you don't know who the person is when you're getting to know them, and if you can trust this information, are they going to throw it back in your face? Are they going to blast it to the world to embarrass you or humiliate you? Are you going to allow them to? There's a bunch of different factors. Or even if you are intimate with this person and you share this information, do they accept that? It's a gamble. But I find that I really don't care so much about people's past as much as I care about what they do today, right? I don't care what you did 5, 10 years ago. Are you doing it today? And if you are doing it today, I'm just honest with myself. Be like, you could have fun with that, but I won't be here. Goodbye. And that's the honest truth you have to tell yourself, is just look at people's actions. Their actions will always speak louder than words. And to do that, you have to That's why dating somebody after about 6 months, you probably are pretty aware of who they are, unless they're just putting on an act. And that's the good thing is don't put on an act. Just go right out the gate with your honesty about how you view the world, things and that, and then go from there. Because I feel like this shit that gets uncovered later, it'll just cause problems. But then you have to tell yourself, if something is uncovered later that would stir up emotion, ask yourself the honest question, like, well, I wasn't there at that point in time. This is why past stuff doesn't matter in people's lives unless they're still doing it today. You know, if their pattern was the same from 5, 10 years ago and they just have a history of doing this, be cautious, for your own sake. But then in your world, what are your patterns that have fucking devastated you or gotten you into trouble? So you need to identify those. And once you become aware of them, make proper changes. Okay. It starts with keeping an open mind to new ideas that maybe your ideas fucking suck. That's the first step. Admitting you don't know and you're probably wrong. That's what I had to do. I had to admit I didn't know. So I had to start to learn some new methods and try new things. But then also still was honest and true to my nature, right? Because you can't lie to yourself about things, and that was part of my problem, was lying to myself about a lot of shit. So I had to become aware of my own patterns, and then sometimes by doing that, because I was honest with other people, they started to tell me like, hey, you've done this before, and you said it caused you a lot of pain and a lot of frustration. You're about to do it again, just so you know. And that accountability was a pivotal point in my life that made me change my entire perception and outlook on things, that was a benefit, because it allowed me to look at these things that I can change so I can become a better all-around person, not just in a romantic relationship, but all of walks of life, whether I'm in the general public world, at work, whatever. It bleeds into everything. You can't have this one, everything is connected one way or another. You can't pretend to be this person here and then not have it show up here. Like, be the same everywhere you go, and then nobody can question that because you're consistent with those actions, behaviors. People love you for it, they hate you for it, but they're ultimately, there's an underlying respect that's unspoken. When people get emotional on the top, that's just the surface level nonsense that causes people to get pissed off because they themselves have their own pride and ego, and I do too. I My own pride and ego will keep me from seeing the truth if I allow it to, if I let it run amok. And that's why admitting you're wrong, admitting you don't know, and accepting truth are ways to allow yourself to grow from this bullshit patterns that you've had. Better decisions today equal better results tomorrow. I did a whole live stream on it once. And this is true. If you've been making the same decisions in your life, always do this. The world doesn't have to change. You do. Everything has to be turned inward out. Otherwise, you are constantly going to be in a turmoil of anger, frustration, resentment towards everyone, people, places, and things around you, because you're not getting what you want, because your expectations are ridiculous and they are out of this world for most people. They're unrealistic. They're not honed in on reality. They are delusional. So you have to continuously be honest with yourself, get out these frustrations, and learn to look at life differently. Gratitude helps. Knowing that everything you have is a way to, just be grateful every single day. Gratitude. I am grateful I have A, B, C, D, whatever. The list is endless. And if you can't think of at least 5 things you're grateful for every day, come on. You're not that stupid, and you're also not, don't be naive. um, so we'll talk a little bit about the road to successes. See, that's how you get through these successes. It's not financial success to the point where, oh, well, money's a tool that gets you things, right? And I've been on all ends of this aspect. I've had $0, negative dollars, and a bunch of dollars. And what I have found is when you have more, you're just not worried about the money. But then even after you get it, it's like this. I tell this story just recently too about how in this townhouse that I'm in now, the wall outlet over here was all busted and shit, so it needed to be replaced. And for years, I told myself I was never going to fuck with anything that was electrical because I was terrified of getting shocked. I'm like, I don't want to get shocked. I'm not an electrician. I don't want to touch these wires, fuck that, you know. But I did some YouTube research and I'm like, can't be that hard to change out a wall outlet, right? So I looked up how to do it. I got the wall outlet. That's $1.50. You put it, make sure the power's off. You follow the steps, and as long as you follow the steps that have been laid out by somebody, it's okay. I did it, didn't get electrocuted, put it in, everything's fine. And then what that was for success for me was overcoming the fear of never saying, like doing something I said I was never going to do, which was never do anything electrical. And then I did. And this is recently, this is just a couple months ago. And I was like, oh, well, that kind of gave me a little bit more confidence to explore. Then the light switch needed fixing. So I switched out the outlet. Now I've got enough confidence to do the light switch. I know that seems small. Like a lot of people that are handy around the house, dudes that have done that, but there's some fellas that never did it. Like, I don't want to touch that either. I'm not alone on this. And nobody wants to get fucking electrocuted. Even an electrician, I don't think they want to get electrocuted. They fucking hate when they do, right? But doing it is success for me. Like, that's a big success for something I said I was never going to do. I was never going to change out or work with electricity. I fucking did it. And that, to me, overcoming that fear, that's what I'm talking about as success. And you can have that success too. If say, like, your fucking vice is you're just eating McDonald's and you're overweight and you're trying to lose weight. Well, today you didn't eat McDonald's. Success. Right? Today you didn't do it. Maybe not tomorrow, but today. See, if you can break down life into a 24-hour period, what can you do today? Not 5 years from now or 10, because you don't know what's going to happen in 5 to 10 years. You just don't. And I freaking hate that whole, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I know it's like a mental thing to kind of prepare yourself for a goal. But honestly, nobody's ever where they're at in 5 years. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. I don't know. But I've never been. Like the way every time that pops, every 5 years goes by, I go, nope, never where I thought it was. And where I'm at is never, it wasn't even an idea, right? It's different, I didn't think I was gonna be sitting here on live streams doing stuff 5 years ago when I started YouTube. I just wanted to do funny, like, top 10s videos and talk about Nintendo games. That's what I honestly wanted to do at the time, but that changed and evolved. Here we are. So I don't know. For today, like, if you can't, like I said, if you're overweight, McDonald's is your problem. You can't, you'll be honest with yourself. You can't just stop that problem, because in a week or 2, 3, maybe a month, you'll pick it back up because you didn't change the behavior. The behavior isn't not just stopping the thing. The behavior is coming up with something to replace that shitty behavior. So if you don't eat McDonald's today, you have to replace that with something, right? Replace the behavior with something else. So you're not eating McDonald's. So what are you eating? You have to choose something healthier, right? So maybe choose, like, today I'm going to have the broccoli and chicken. I don't want the broccoli. I know I don't want the broccoli and chicken because my body's fucking craving the poison I've been giving myself for years. But I'm going to eat the broccoli and chicken even if I don't want to. And you start small. And then it'll taper into something greater. And then the more you practice it, the more you continue to do it, the more it'll become a daily habit, and it'll become a behavior for you that is better, because eventually you just don't want to eat that shit anymore, right? You just don't want to eat the McDonald's anymore. I've told this before. I grew up on noodles with butter and cottage cheese. It's like a Slovak food. All it is pasta. You deep fry it in butter. Just brown the butter really brown, and you throw noodles in there, and then a bunch of cottage cheese, and pour a little salt on it, and you got yourself a meal. And it was something it's delicious, and it's something I grew up on, and it was just common in my house, and we ate it like a couple of times a week. Now, since I don't eat that much, like, I like pasta, but I just don't have a craving for it because I weaned myself away from it to the point where now I have noodles and butter and cottage cheese. Like, honestly, now maybe a couple, maybe twice a year. Maybe. It's not that often. And even after I do, I'm like, oh God, I used to eat this shit all the time. I feel like crap because now I've filled my life with better nutritious food. Steaks, chicken, pork, eggs, meat, fruit, and vegetables. That's my philosophy, right? My solution to shitty eating. And that's it. And after doing that for a while, I just don't want that food anymore. And that's a success for me, because I used to eat fucking noodles and butter and cottage cheese like 3-4 times a week. It was because it takes 15 minutes to make. It's really simple. It fills you up. It's delicious. But now I just no. But again, I had to slowly do this. I had to slowly make the decision. I had to slowly each day, just a little bit, just not today, just a little bit more, a little bit more, because the mentality of what I used to do, which was the gung ho method, like, you know what, fuck this, I'm done eating this, I'm going to the gym, I'm done, and then you get that initial, just like when you're in pain. Just when you have a breakup, when you have this burst of energy almost, but it's impulsive. It's almost like, because you got to the point of just disgust, you're angry, you're fucking hurt, you're all these different emotions, but that energy, you mistake it as this motivation that's going to drive you all the way. No, it's an initial push, right? It's a push that gets you going, but it's not sustainable because that as quickly as you got that feeling, it fizzles out and goes away. It becomes, then it's not there anymore. And then you're just stuck with you. Now you're back. Now you've got less motivation. Now you have no motivation. And then you just go back to your same old shitty routine because you didn't change your pattern of behavior to a point where it was consistently new. Like you just took that ball of pain and you went with it for a very short period of time. See, that's not sustainable. That's too short-sighted. You have to start really small, little bits. No McDonald's today. No noodles with butter and cottage cheese. And then you just but I'm going to fill it with a nice medium rare steak or chicken or whatever, broccoli, vegetable, meat, fruit, and vegetables is all you need, guys. And then you don't want the processed food anymore. When you do eat some processed shit, you don't feel good. When I eat a bowl of buttery pop, I just don't feel like, I don't feel satisfied like I do today when I have my eggs and breakfast and all that stuff and steak. I just don't feel satisfied to the point of, then this took me years. Years of tapering off from an old behavior to a new one. And this is the point. So it's all based on an individual basis, whatever your issue is. You can't conquer everything in one day, but you have to start somewhere. Okay. And by starting with a healthy body and mind, everything else you kind of works its way out. Like I said, 2 months ago, electrical outlet. I didn't want to fucking get electrocuted. But for years, I told myself I couldn't do it until I did it. See, the fear, the mind fuck. The mind is the problem. You tell yourself you can't do something, you probably can't until you do it. And then all of a sudden, now that you've done it, holy shit, that wasn't so bad. Of course, because you have to go through this stuff in order to learn the lesson. If you don't learn the lesson, you're going to keep repeating the same shit over and over again until the lesson's learned. I know from my own life. And you see people stepping on landmines constantly in their life, and you try to point out the landmines to them, like you're about to step on it and blow up again. Quiet, Tiggs. And that's what happens. And that's okay. People have to figure it out. So it always starts with not the world, not if there was more money, not if there was a better job, not if there was a better person, but you. And then if you could work on those things, become aware of your own patterns, behaviors, and all the things that are messing you up in your day to day, and then seriously hone in on them and work, you then can become better at managing those. And then it'll bleed into every area of life. Your relationships will get better. The people you attract in your life will be better, more in tune with that mentality. You'll have less stress, less anxiety, less depression for sure. You will have more motivation, a better sense of serenity, and you'll be very content in life. All of that based on just knowing your own patterns of behavior. How do you get to the bottoms of the patterns of behavior? Well, you need to be honest with yourself and somebody else. You have to just, find a therapist, find somebody that's not going to judge you from some kind of moral high ground, and just be honest with them. And if they are a neutral character, not going to tell you what to do, but just be able to see where you're going wrong with your behavior, and they'll call you out on it. Luckily, I've got people in my life that have done that for me for years, and thank fucking God they did, because it allowed me to figure out why I kept stepping on landmines and blowing myself up over and over and then never learning the lesson until somebody had to sit me literally down and fucking tell me straight to my face. Even though deep down, like I knew like the reasons why I was getting into all my troubles and lily padding from relationships, but I wasn't willing to change me. I always thought it was elsewhere. I always thought it was somebody else, the external, the person, the job, the living situation. Yeah, it was always something else but me. And the truth is, you're the problem. Always. So be grateful for those little successes in life that you have, which are those little fears that you overcome. If you are able to put down McDonald's and stop eating it and lose a few pounds, that's a success. Don't think of it as nothing. Don't think, well, it's not the 50 pounds I wanted to lose. And see, you're setting yourself up for failure when you set a goal that high. Oh, I didn't achieve 50 yet. I'm only at 10. Fuck it. And then you just lose that drive. You go, I'll get there one day, but what can I do today to get there? Little itty bitty increments and steps, man. It's not that big picture, because even when you get to that big picture, I was 70 pounds heavier just about 4 years ago. Yeah. If you don't believe me, go watch my very first YouTube videos. You'll think it's a completely different person. My lady, she said something brilliant the first time I showed her a video. She goes, "It looks like that guy ate you." And she was right. It did. And that's because why? Oh, I don't know. I was drinking a lot, battling that, and then eating just shitty food all the time, being depressed, and I had to slowly do something that started with not drinking. And then it slowly morphed into so much other stuff because I got to look at the problem, which was me. That's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of folks, man. They don't want to look at themselves as being the issue in any colors of pain in their life. A lot of people are high and mighty, or their pride gets the best of them, or they just are unaware of it. And my heart goes out to the people that are very unaware that their behavior is so obnoxious. And even when people call them out on it, they're so stubborn and prideful that they won't change. And on the one hand, you respect that because you don't need to change for other people. But if you're aware of it and your life is miserable and it keeps going to shit, you can change. You have that power. Individuals have so much more power than they realize. And it baffles my mind that most people don't take a hold of it. They always expect somebody else to do it for them. Somebody else is going to fix me. Some other thing is going to fix me. Some other area of life will fix me other than me. No. I'm here to tell you that's not the case. It won't. And I know this from my experience because I thought so. The job, the lily padding relationships, I thought all that was going to fix in here. And all it did was mask that pain and healing I needed to do on my own in various ways. And there's methods to get to that. There's different ways to do it. Really look at yourself. Always be honest with yourself. That's where you start. Honesty. I don't want to do this. It's stupid. Good. You're being honest. Just always there. And these little successes, the road to success is that little day by day things, man. Because if you think you're going to solve all your problems in just one day or even a few months, you're lying to yourself. You're setting yourself up for failure because it's an unrealistic expectation that you're not going to meet. And then when you don't meet it, you'll just fall back into your old patterns of behavior, which cause you pain and misery. But since you're comfortable in that pain and misery, that's where we sit. And I've done this too, man. When I don't change something, I fall back into these old, and I still do even to this day, not as bad as I used to be like, 4 or 5 years ago, but I can still fall back in old patterns of behavior if I don't constantly check myself every single day. And another good tool to get out of that is to be selfless, not be self-centered and think about what does Matt want. The world needs to please Matt. No, I need to think about what other people want. That usually helps. That always helps me. Not usually, always helps me. And it's a day to day thing, and it never goes away. It just gets better, progressively better, right? Progressively better. Every little thing you do better today, that little decision, even though like you want to cave and eat the McDonald's and you chose not to, that little victory is going to carry you. And the days will accumulate until years go by. And then this, I'm 70 pounds lighter. I'm in the best shape of my life at 35. Better. I'm not inflamed. I don't have puffy face like I used to. And this isn't because I starved myself or did something. No, I actually do things in a healthy manner, right? It took me time to learn discipline that where I was undisciplined. And everybody's different, but you have to pick an area of your life and just start there. You have to start somewhere. And for me, it's keeping my mind clear and centered. Well, how do you get your mind clear and centered? Stop worrying about the future. Stop dwelling in the past. Be in the now. This is what's worked for me. Meaning, if I find my mind trailing off, I bring it back, going, oh, I'm not there right now. I'm right here, wherever I'm at, work, at a family, Christmas, whatever. I'm there because I'm not worried about where I need to be because I'm not there yet. When I'm there, then I'll be there. And then I'm not dwelling on the past like, oh my God, like 10 years ago, holding on to all this shit that's gone. It's gone. Yesterday's gone. Right now is all you have. Every now is now. That's it. That allows you to stay into the next thing that you need to do on your 24-hour period to get success in your life and not just financial success. If you know your job sucks, with that area, you know what steps you need to take. So, okay, what do I have to do? I got to get a resume. What do I want to do? You know what steps to take to get there. So start taking the steps to get you to where you want to be. Don't think that when you get to the place you want to be, that all of a sudden is the solution to life, because that doesn't work at all. And even when you get there, you're going to realize how much of it was the idea, the anticipation, the journey up to it that you actually enjoyed. It wasn't the it thing itself. I've talked to people who've been through similar things, and they agree with me that like they got to a certain point that they thought this is going to lead them to the light. I have a YouTube friend. He has a nice video that he openly talked about. He made a movie, and it's on Amazon Prime, believe it or not. It's called Rideshare. Tremaine Hayho, little shout out there, of Hayho Studios out in California. And we were YouTube friends. We used to do some commentary back in the early YouTube days. And we're not on there as much anymore. But I remember watching his video recently where he talked about how all he ever dreamt about doing was making a movie. And he did. And it's on Amazon fucking Prime. I mean, that's it, right? Your movie is on a streaming service. That's pretty successful shit, I think, right? From a standpoint of what's available to the world, what we can access and everything. And plus that's amazing. So he got his dream and then quickly had to realize that now that it was over, now what? And I know, and I can relate because I did the same thing, but differently. Like my dream business was owning an entertainment venue, which I did. I talked about it a lot and I won't go into it, but I did. And then I walked away. But the whole time at the business, I knew what it felt like to live my dream. So like everything else after life for me is just I lived the dream that I wanted. And then people like to tell me that you should have more. You should want more. I'm like, I got to do my dream. Like most people just, they settle for whatever job they want just to, have pay the bills. And I did my dream. Like you can't argue with me. Like if your dream was to, anything, my dream was to build a shed and I built that shed. It's like then that was your goal. It's not, some people's dream is just to have kids and have family. Like my father, my dad said he wanted kids. He didn't care. He was a meat cutter his whole life. He just wanted children and he got to live his dream. So the way my father, I look at him is what he should have and could have, should have, would have done in his life. He did it. He had me and my sisters. It's like he had his dream, which was children. And then here we are. Now he's got a crazy son that's on the internet talking. Well, good job, Dad. Thank you. I appreciate it. See, You can't argue somebody's dream, but the point I'm trying to make is like from my friend Tremaine to myself, is after you've lived this idea of ultimate success, after that, it's just reoccurring experiences over and over again in life, right? They're just reoccurring over and over again. You're going to relive the same shit over and over again. There is no peak. There is no final place that when you hit it, you're just going to coast. You're not. And I know this. And just be kind to people. Try to treat them with respect. Learn from your own mistakes and your own behaviors. Otherwise, you're going to be doomed to repeat your own hell over and over again until you learn your lesson. Some people never do. And that sucks. I've seen some people die from not learning their lesson, and it sucks. So don't let your pride get the best of you and say that you can't do something because you can. You just don't want to. See, that's the honest thing. You don't want to take the steps and become willing to do what it takes. See, that's the real answer there. Not that I can't do it. It's just that you're not willing to do what it takes to get to that point. Everybody thinks their way of living is the way of living because it's the way they're used to and they're comfortable for. So everybody will always judge other people from some kind of aspect and look at them and be like, oh, fuck, is that person doing that? I've done it. I work with the general public. I'm doing it daily, but I have to constantly remind myself I have a contempt prior to investigation that this is a flaw that I need to work on, that I continuously work on to this day, that hinders me from seeing the true people, the individual underneath my contempt. This is my battle that I do every day. Constant work. But every time I don't hold somebody in contempt and I hear them as an individual, guess what that is? Success. Success isn't always big houses, fancy cars, hot women. Well, maybe the hot women. But meaning there's so many other different successes in life. And if you've accomplished something that you once thought was impossible for you, you're a very successful person. Now, don't get that confused with the arrogance of people thinking they're better at something than they're not. Know your place, accept where you're at in your place, and grow from there. That's all you got to do. American arrogance is hilarious. Everybody, oh, so much better. I'm like, well, did you know I didn't do anything? Like, see, speak for yourself. Know your strengths and your weaknesses. Become aware of both. Grow and work on the things that need to be worked on. Otherwise, you will constantly be faced with the same dilemmas over and over again in life until you change. Not the world, but you have to change. And it's the hardest thing in the world to do because your pride tells you that your way is the right way. But to change your entire perspective on life is extremely fucking hard. But if your life keeps fucking up, you need to ask yourself, what are you doing wrong? And that's that. So success doesn't always have to be zeros in the bank account, man. Success doesn't always have to be the Movado watch or the trophy wife or the giant house with the big TV. Success is overcoming some kind of obstacle or fear that you once thought was impossible for you, and then you do it. That is success. You can experience that success for yourself because you know you better than anybody does, and you have to be honest with yourself about what it is you need to do to change in order for your life to be content and enjoyable and full of a lot of joy. Not the rest of the world, what it needs to do to cater to what you think is best for everyone else. You have to do what you need to do for you in order for you to be a productive member of the world. So don't let your pride get the best of you and your ego. Lower that shit down to earthly levels. You'll be okay. More to come in the future about how to get there, folks. But just remember, actions speak louder than words. Words are hollow if you have no action to back them up. And the people talking the loudest tend to be the ones who don't have anything to back it up. And the ones you don't hear from are the ones that are probably the most successful in the areas of life that you probably want to succeed in, because they're not bragging about it. You know, they're not going, look what I got. It's because they're just living life and they don't care what other people think. You can learn from everybody. Remember that. Everybody from all walks of life. Just be honest with yourself. All right. Dogs are barking. It's a great, beautiful day. This is 45 minutes of a stream. Don't take yourself too seriously.